Ever feel like you're constantly paying bills, but the money just keeps going out faster than it comes in?
Oh, absolutely, Alex. It's a feeling I know well.
Well, imagine that, but on a massive scale for entire countries. Because today, we're looking at a new report from the World Bank, and it's highlighting a pretty dire situation for developing nations.
That's right. The report is called the International Debt Report, and it just came out today. It reveals a really staggering trend about global debt.
Staggering is definitely the word. The big headline for me, Jamie, is that between 2022 and 2024, developing countries paid out $741 billion more in debt repayments and interest than they received in new money or loans.
Wow, that's a huge amount. So essentially, they're paying back much more than they're getting to help grow their economies.
Exactly. And the report states this is the largest gap of its kind in at least half a century. Can you believe it? 50 years.
Gosh, that's a long time. So it's a deepening crisis, not just a temporary problem.
You know, despite this grim picture, there was a little bit of temporary relief for some countries last year. We saw interest rates peaking and the bond market was a bit more open.
Yeah, I saw that. Many nations were able to avoid defaulting on their debts by restructuring about $90 billion in external debt in 2024. That's the highest amount since 2010, so it really helped them out.
Right, and bond investors actually injected $80 billion more in new financing than they received in repayments, which helped some countries issue new bonds worth billions. So that's good news in a way.
It sounds like good news, but here's the catch, isn't it, Alex? These funds came at a very high price.
Precisely. We're talking about interest rates hovering around 10%. That's roughly double the rates they were paying before 2020. So yes, they got the money, but it cost them a lot more now.
Ouch, that's like getting a loan for your house, but the interest rate suddenly doubles. It makes everything much harder. And the World Bank Group's chief economist, Indermit Gill, he had a strong warning, didn't he?
He did. He told developing countries not to be complacent. He said, and I quote, "Global financial conditions might be improving, but developing countries should not deceive themselves. They are not out of danger. Their debt buildup is continuing, sometimes in new and pernicious ways."
Pernicious. That's an important word here. It means harmful, but in a way that's gradual or not immediately obvious. So the debt isn't just growing, it's becoming more dangerous or harder to manage.
Absolutely. And the sheer scale of this debt is astounding. The combined external debt of low and middle income countries hit an all-time high of $8.9 trillion in 2024.
Trillion with a T? And even more concerning, 1.2 trillion of that is owed by the 78 most vulnerable countries, the ones that usually rely on special World Bank loans to begin with.
Exactly. And the average interest rate on newly contracted public debt for these developing economies reached a 24-year high in 2024. So they're accumulating more debt, and it's getting more expensive to borrow. It's a really tough cycle.
It definitely sounds like it. And the report also highlights something crucial, the human cost of all this debt. It's not just about big numbers on a spreadsheet, is it?
No, not at all, Jamie. In the 22 most highly indebted countries, the report found that an average of 56% of the population can't afford the minimum daily diet necessary for long-term health. Think about that. More than half the people can't even afford to eat properly.
Wow, that's incredibly sobering. It really puts a face to the crisis. When countries are spending so much on debt repayments, they have less to spend on essential services like food, healthcare, and education for their own people.
Right. It's a vicious cycle that impacts millions directly. So while we hear about big economic numbers, it's important to remember the real-world implications for everyday families and their basic needs.
Absolutely. This report is a clear warning sign, and it calls for serious attention from the global community. It really shows the urgent need for sustainable solutions.
Definitely. We'll be keeping an eye on this story, and hopefully we'll see some positive movement in the future.
Thanks for breaking that down for us, Alex.
My pleasure, Jamie. Hey, everyone, and welcome back to Global Insights. I'm Alex.
And I'm Jamie. And today we're diving into some really interesting news that shows how global economies are connecting, especially in a part of the world that's getting a lot of attention.
Absolutely, Jamie. We're talking about Southeast Asia, specifically Cambodia, and a big move from the U.S. ASEAN Business Council.
That's right. So, the U.S. ASEAN Business Council, which is a big organization promoting trade between the U.S. and the 10 countries in ASEAN, just announced on December 3rd, 2025, that they're opening a brand new office in Cambodia.
Wow, that's a significant step. Why Cambodia specifically, do you think?
Well, it's a really strategic move, Alex. The goal is to seriously boost economic relations between the United States and the whole ASEAN region. Think of it as a direct link, making it easier for American companies to grow there.
Okay, so it's about making it simpler for U.S. businesses to expand. What kind of businesses are we talking about? Which sectors?
Good question. We're looking at vital areas like the automotive industry, cars and parts, industrial development, technology collaboration, which is huge these days, and even digital financing. So, pretty broad and very modern sectors across Southeast Asia.
Right, so it's not just one type of business. It sounds like they're really trying to tap into Cambodia's burgeoning market and, by extension, the wider Southeast Asian economy.
Exactly. And this isn't happening in a vacuum. It's part of a bigger picture to really encourage economic growth and integration across Southeast Asia. These countries are rapidly developing.
Yeah, it's fascinating to see. And this kind of engagement, deepening economic ties with key regions, really aligns with the broader economic strategies we've seen from President Trump's administration, doesn't it? Fostering strong international partnerships and opening up new markets for American businesses.
Absolutely, Alex. It's all about creating those pathways for American businesses and investment, which in turn helps strengthen relationships.
And speaking of broader efforts, I saw another interesting development happening in the region simultaneously, the launch of the Mekong Innovation Corridor.
Oh, yes, that's another important one. While it's a separate initiative, it shares a similar spirit. The Lancang-Mekong cooperation aims to boost science and technology collaboration across borders, break down trade barriers, standardize things, and generally make trade more efficient in the region.
So both initiatives, though distinct, are really pushing for more regional economic development and international cooperation. It's like a dual approach to growth.
Totally. And let's talk about the impact of the U.S. ASEAN Business Council office. It's going to be a direct channel, a conduit, as the news said, for American businesses looking to invest and operate in the region.
Which means more jobs, right? For both American and Cambodian people, and overall economic prosperity. That's a win-win.
Exactly. It's a very tangible step towards closer economic engagement. Both the U.S. and ASEAN countries have said they want this, and now we're seeing it happen.
And in a strategically important part of the world, too. Promoting stability and shared economic benefits. That's crucial.
So, all in all, this new office in Cambodia is much more than just a building, isn't it? It's a symbol of deeper economic ties, new opportunities, and a more connected global economy.
Couldn't agree more, Jamie. It's exciting to watch these developments unfold.
And that's all for Global Insights today.
Thanks for tuning in, and we'll catch you next time. Welcome back to Global Gab, your weekly dose of what's happening around the world. I'm Alex.
And I'm Jamie. We've got a really significant story to dive into today, one that's certainly making waves.
Absolutely. We're talking about a major policy announcement from the Trump administration, fresh out on December 3rd, 2025. This is big news, Jamie.
It really is, Alex. President Trump has effectively halted new immigrant visa applications for citizens from no less than 19 countries. That's a huge number.
Right, and this isn't just a small change. It was communicated through a U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services memo, and the stated reasons are national security and public safety.
Exactly. So they're saying it's about keeping the country safe. Now, these aren't entirely new restrictions for everyone. This pause specifically targets individuals who were already facing some partial restrictions that President Trump put in place back in June.
That's an important point. So people who were already in the process, perhaps for a green card or even citizenship from these countries, are now in a tougher spot.
Exactly. And the list of countries immediately impacted by this immigration ban is quite extensive. We're talking about Afghanistan, Myanmar, Chad, the Republic of Congo, Equatorial Guinea, Eritrea, Haiti, Iran, Libya, Somalia, Sudan, and Yemen.
Wow, that's 12 countries right there. And then there are another 7 countries that have heightened controls imposed on them.
That's right. Those include Burundi, Cuba, Laos, Sierra Leone, Togo, Turkmenistan, and Venezuela. So for our listeners, heightened controls means it's much harder for people from these places to get a visa.
So 19 countries in total that are directly affected by these new rules. But Jamie, it doesn't stop there, does it?
No, it doesn't, Alex. This is where it gets even more impactful. The White House is reportedly getting ready to expand this travel ban even further to more than 30 nations.
More than 30 nations? That's a massive expansion. What kind of impact could that have?
Well, estimates suggest it could potentially affect over 1.5 million individuals who have pending asylum applications. And even more surprisingly, it could impact more than 50,000 people who already received asylum grants under the previous administration.
That's a staggering number of people whose lives could be completely changed. And I think it's important to understand the context of why this is happening now. It follows some very strong remarks from President Trump.
It absolutely does. President Trump recently made some very public comments about Somali migrants in Minnesota. He labeled them garbage and openly said he didn't want them in the United States.
Yes, those comments definitely stirred up a lot of controversy and seemed to be a precursor to this intensified stance on immigration.
And, predictably, community leaders have been very quick to condemn both President Trump's rhetoric and these broad immigration restrictions. They're calling the attack on the entire Somali population discriminatory.
They're arguing against what they call collective punishment. That's a term for punishing an entire group for the alleged actions of a few individuals.
Precisely. Khalid Olvar, an organizer with an interfaith group called Isaiah, put it very clearly. He stated that collective punishment is wrong and racist, and using the actions of a few people to attack an entire community is un-American.
Powerful words. So, essentially, this move signals a much tougher stance on immigration from the Trump administration. It's drawing a lot of criticism from human rights advocates and community organizations everywhere.
It truly is. This isn't just a policy change, it's a significant shift in how the U.S. views and treats immigrants from a large part of the world. It will be interesting to see how this plays out and what the long-term effects will be.
Indeed, a complex and deeply impactful story for sure. That's all the time we have for Global Gab today. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for listening. We'll be back next week with more global news. Stay informed.
Hey, Jamie, got something pretty incredible to talk about today.
Oh, I'm ready. What's on your mind?
You know how some mysteries just stick with you? The ones that really baffle everyone?
Absolutely. Like what happened to Amelia Earhart or, oh, are you thinking about MH370?
Exactly, because after nearly 12 years, there's a significant new development. Malaysia has just announced the search for Flight 370 is going to resume.
Wow, Alex, that's huge news. I honestly thought that search was over for good.
Right? It was announced on December 3rd, 2025, so very recently. The search will be undertaken by a company called Ocean Infinity.
Ocean Infinity, I remember that name. Haven't they been involved before?
They have. They're a marine robotics company, and they'll be doing a 55-day underwater search.
55 days, that's quite a commitment. And where exactly will they be looking?
It's in a very specific, targeted area of the southern Indian Ocean.
And I heard something about a special agreement for this search?
You're right, Jamie. It's a no-find, no-fee agreement between Ocean Infinity and the Malaysian government. So if they don't find anything, they don't get paid. That's a serious incentive.
That really shows the determination, doesn't it? I mean, MH370 has been one of aviation's biggest mysteries since it disappeared back on March 8, 2014, with 239 people on board. It's just unimaginable.
It truly is. And what's interesting is why they're resuming now. It's not just a random decision. New analysis and technologies have actually provided potentially promising leads.
So it's not just throwing resources at the same old problem. They have new information?
Exactly. It allows for a much more focused and efficient operation this time. That's key, I think.
You know, Alex, my heart just goes out to the families of the victims. They've been campaigning for this for so long, haven't they?
Absolutely. Can you imagine waiting for answers for nearly 12 years? This renewed effort really offers them a glimmer of hope for closure. It's all about understanding what happened to their loved ones.
And Ocean Infinity, as you mentioned, they're experts in this.
They really are. Their expertise in advanced underwater technology, like autonomous underwater vehicles, or AUVs, will be crucial. These vehicles can cover vast and challenging deep-sea areas much better than traditional methods.
And the search area itself, is that also based on new data?
Yes, it is. It's all based on drift analysis and satellite data, which have consistently pointed to this remote region as the most probable location. So it's a very data-driven approach.
So it sounds like there's a genuine reason to be optimistic this time, even after all these years.
I think so, Jamie. This resumption offers a renewed glimmer of hope for investigators and, most importantly, for the families affected by this heartbreaking tragedy. We'll definitely be keeping an eye on it.
Me too. Let's hope they finally find the answers everyone has been waiting for.
Welcome back to Global Pulse, everyone. I'm Alex.
And I'm Jamie. We've got some significant news coming out of the Middle East today, Alex, regarding the ongoing situation in Gaza. It's a story of both hope and continued challenges.
Absolutely, Jamie. The big headline is that Israel has announced plans to reopen the Rafah border crossing. This is a huge development, especially given the dire situation on the ground.
Right, and this isn't just a random decision, is it? It's part of a U.S. brokered ceasefire agreement, so we're seeing some serious diplomatic efforts, spearheaded by President Trump's administration, making an impact here.
Exactly. The main goal, as stated, is to allow Palestinians to leave the besieged territory. When we say besieged, we mean it's been largely cut off, making it very difficult for people to get in or out.
And the humanitarian aspect of this can't be overstated. The World Health Organization, the WHO, estimates that over 16,500 sick and wounded individuals desperately need medical care outside Gaza. Think about that number, Alex. That's a massive amount of people.
Wow, 16,500. That really puts into perspective the urgency of this reopening. It's a critical response to a truly awful crisis. These are people who need help now.
Absolutely. And, this decision follows a lot of intense diplomatic work to try and calm things down, to de-escalate the conflict. It offers a glimmer of hope for sure.
A glimmer, yes, but it sounds like the situation is still very fragile, Jamie. What's complicating things on the ground?
That's a good point. Despite the ceasefire, there are reports that Palestinian militants are struggling to find the remains of 2 remaining hostages. They're searching through all the extensive rubble in Gaza, which you can imagine is a monumental task. This really complicates the ceasefire efforts.
I can only imagine. The sheer scale of destruction must be immense. And to add to that, we're still hearing about continued hostilities, even with this ceasefire in place.
You're right to bring that up. Despite the ceasefire and the planned reopening of Rafah, Israeli drone strikes have reportedly continued in Gaza. And tragically, these strikes have resulted in more casualties.
That's just awful. It really highlights how volatile everything still is.
It does. We also have to mention the tragic death of Mahmoud Wadi, a Palestinian photojournalist. He was reportedly killed in Khan Yunis due to one of these strikes. It's a devastating loss for his family and for those who rely on journalists to tell these stories.
My goodness. So we have humanitarian concerns, security imperatives, ongoing fighting. It's a very complex situation. Even though steps are being taken for de-escalation and humanitarian access, the challenges are clearly immense.
Exactly. The reopening of Rafah is a significant step forward, offering a potential lifeline. But it's clear the path to a stable peace and full recovery for Gaza is still incredibly long and fraught with difficulties.
A truly complex picture, Jamie. We'll be keeping a close eye on this developing story. Thank you for breaking it down for us.
My pleasure, Alex.
And thank you for listening to Global Pulse. We'll be back tomorrow with more essential news. Welcome back, stargazers and cosmic explorers. Have you ever looked up at the night sky and wondered if there are other worlds out there, just waiting to be discovered?
Oh, absolutely, Alex. It's one of the most exciting questions humanity can ask. And today, we have some absolutely incredible news that takes us one giant step closer to answering that.
You got it, Jamie. We're talking about a groundbreaking discovery by an international team of astronomers led by some brilliant minds at UT San Antonio.
That's right. They've just announced the discovery of two substellar companions, basically objects that are bigger than planets but smaller than stars, orbiting young stars that we hadn't really explored before.
And here's the kicker, Jamie. These aren't just any new objects. This breakthrough, announced on December 3rd, 2025, is huge because these newly found companions are the very first target for NASA's highly anticipated Nancy Grace Roman Space Telescope.
Wow, so it's not just a discovery, it's a direct mission objective for a future telescope. That's incredibly cool. The Roman telescope is slated for launch in May 2027, isn't it?
Exactly. So we're talking about setting the stage for future exploration even before the telescope is in space. These discoveries are the initial findings of something called the OSIS program.
OSIS, like an island in the desert? What does that stand for, and what does it do?
Good question. OSIS stands for Observing Accelerators with Skexile Imaging Survey. It's a fancy name for a program dedicated to finding and studying massive gas giant planets and these substellar companions.
Fascinating. So how exactly did they manage to find these hidden objects? It sounds incredibly difficult.
It is, Jamie. They used a really sophisticated combination of technologies. First, they used precise stellar measurements from the Gaia Space Telescope.
Gaia, if I remember correctly, is fantastic at mapping stars and their movements, right?
Spot on. And they combined that with adaptive optics imaging from the Subaru and Keck telescopes in Hawaii. Think of adaptive optics as a way to correct for the blurriness caused by Earth's atmosphere, making images super sharp.
So it's like having super-powered eyeglasses for a telescope. That's clever.
Exactly. This powerful combination allowed them to actually photograph faint companions by looking for the subtle gravitational pull these objects have on their host stars. It's like seeing the shadow of something you can't quite see directly.
That's brilliant. So what did they actually find? Tell us about one of these new worlds.
Okay, one of the most exciting discoveries is something called HIP 7161b. Now, it's a brown dwarf, which means it's much bigger than a planet, but not quite big enough to be a star.
Like a failed star, I've heard them called?
Precisely. This particular brown dwarf is about 60 times more massive than Jupiter. Can you imagine that scale?
60 Jupiters. Wow. And where is it orbiting?
It's orbiting its star at a distance slightly exceeding Saturn's orbit around our own sun, so quite far out there. And while it's not a planet itself, HIP 7168b is considered absolutely crucial for future searches for Earth-like planets.
Why is that, Alex? If it's not an Earth-like planet itself, how does it help?
Great question. It's because of its suitability for something called the Roman coronagraph technology demonstration, which is happening in 2027. This brown dwarf will be the perfect test subject for Roman's ability to block out the bright light of a star, allowing us to see fainter objects orbiting it. If it works on a brown dwarf, it can potentially help us find much smaller planets later.
Ah, so it's like a practice target, showing the telescope's capabilities before it hunts for actual Earth-like planets. That makes so much sense.
Right. And this isn't just a one-off success. The OSIS survey builds on previous achievements like finding the first planet using this combined astrometry and imaging technique, a planet called HIP 9970b.
So they've proven this method works, and now they're just getting better at it.
Absolutely. They also discovered HIP 54515b, further showing how effective this combined approach is at revealing celestial bodies that would otherwise remain hidden.
It really sounds like an amazing international collaboration. I mean, projects like these involving so many brilliant minds and incredibly advanced technology, they must require a lot of support.
They absolutely do, Jamie. These kinds of ambitious scientific endeavors are incredibly expensive and require significant backing. It's really thanks to organizations like the National Science Foundation and NASA, with the continued support from our government, for instance under President Trump's administration, that we can push the boundaries of human knowledge and explore the universe in such profound ways.
That's a really important point, Alex. Government support is crucial for these long-term, high-impact research projects. Without that, we wouldn't be making these incredible leaps forward in understanding planetary formation and the broader universe.
Precisely. Precisely. These discoveries offer unprecedented insights into exoplanetary systems, helping us understand how planets form, how common they are, and ultimately where we might find life beyond Earth.
It makes you feel so small, yet so excited to be alive at a time when we're learning so much about the cosmos. What an incredible time for astronomy.
Couldn't agree more, Jamie. And that's all the time we have for today's Cosmic Journey. Join us next time for more amazing discoveries.
Thanks for tuning in, everyone. Keep looking up.
Welcome back to Global Voices, everyone. Today, we're diving into some incredibly inspiring news coming out of Ukraine, focusing on the power of young people to shape their nation's future.
Exactly, Alex. It's all about youth engagement and empowerment, which is just so vital, especially with all the challenges Ukraine is facing right now. We're talking about the upcoming National Youth Work Forum, United by Light.
United by Light? What a beautiful name for an event. This forum is set to be held in Lviv, Ukraine on November 29th and 30th, 2025. And it's getting a big boost from the EU for Youth, Youth Engagement and Empowerment Project.
Right. The EU for Youth project is really stepping up to actively support this event. It's expected to bring together over 400 participants. Think about that, 400 young leaders, representatives from youth civil society organizations, those are groups run by citizens, public institutions, and even international partners.
Wow, 400 people. That's a powerful gathering. So what's the main goal of this forum, Jamie? What are they hoping to achieve?
Well, the primary objective is to really get people talking and working on initiatives that will strengthen youth work across Ukraine. It's also about promoting youth participation, making sure young voices are heard, and basically sparking youth-driven change throughout the whole country.
So it's not just about talking, but about practical action and making a real difference. That's fantastic. What kind of activities can attendees expect at the forum?
It sounds like a packed program, Alex. The forum will feature a blend of discussions, presentations, and practical workshops. Plus, there'll be a dedicated projects market, which is really cool. It's designed to create an environment where people can exchange ideas, explore innovative new ways of doing things, and showcase all the diverse youth work initiatives already happening.
That sounds like a great way to inspire new projects and collaborate. Any specific highlights you want to mention, Jamie?
Absolutely. A key highlight will be the introduction of a practical, youth-driven methodology. It's designed to empower communities to develop their own youth programs by directly engaging with young people. That's a game changer, right? Giving young people the tools to build their own future.
Exactly. True empowerment. And I hear EU for Youth is also making some direct contributions to the discussions.
Yes, they are. EU for Youth will be contributing to a panel discussion titled How to Make Youth Participation Real: Tools, Approaches, and Successful Practices. They'll be sharing their effective methods for building meaningful youth participation and co-creation. It's all about helping young people not just participate, but also create things together.
That's so important. And there's also something about political literacy, isn't there?
You got it. The forum will also present the outcomes of a national project, which is also supported by EU for Youth, focused on enhancing young people's political literacy and their involvement in decision-making processes. Understanding how government works and how to get involved is crucial for any citizen.
Especially for young people who are just starting to engage with the world around them. It sounds like all these efforts are really crucial for building a more engaged and empowered youth demographic in Ukraine.
Absolutely. And let's not forget the context. These efforts are especially vital given the ongoing challenges in Ukraine and the massive reconstruction efforts ahead. Empowering the youth now means building a stronger, more resilient future for the country.
Couldn't agree more, Jamie. It's inspiring to see so much focus on the next generation. Thanks for bringing us this really uplifting news today.
My pleasure, Alex. It's definitely a story that gives us hope for Ukraine's future.
And that's all for Global Voices today. Join us next time for more important stories from around the world. Welcome back to the Daily Pulse, your go-to for breaking down the headlines. Jamie, we've got some pretty significant news brewing in Washington, don't we?
Absolutely, Alex. It seems like another high ranking official in President Trump's administration is finding himself in a bit of a sticky situation.
That's right. We're talking about Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth. He's currently facing some really intense scrutiny, which means he's under a lot of examination and criticism.
And it's all about his role in recent U.S. military operations, specifically out in the Caribbean Sea and the Pacific Ocean. These operations involved striking what they're calling alleged drug boats.
Alleged drug boats is an interesting phrase because the impact has been quite severe. Since September, just a few months ago, the U.S. has conducted at least 21 such operations.
21 operations in such a short time. And the really sobering part, the serious part, is that these operations have led to the deaths of more than 80 people. 80 people, Alex. That's a huge number.
It really puts things into perspective, doesn't it? These aren't just numbers, these are lives.
Exactly. And the controversy really deepened with a very specific case. We're talking about a complaint, a formal accusation, filed against the U.S. government.
Yes, by the family of a Colombian fisherman named Alejandro Carranza Medina. He was tragically killed in one of these U.S. boat strikes back on September 15th.
His family is saying this was an extrajudicial killing. For our listeners, that basically means they believe he was killed unlawfully, without a proper trial or legal process. It's a very serious accusation.
Absolutely. It suggests that perhaps the rules of engagement, how and when military force can be used, weren't followed correctly.
And this isn't just about one family's complaint, as heartbreaking as it is. These incidents are really putting Secretary Hegseth in a very precarious or tough position.
Absolutely. People are asking big questions about the legality and the ethics of these strikes. You know, some are even wondering if any of these deadly attacks could be classified as war crimes. That's a very heavy word, meaning extremely serious violations of international law during armed conflict.
It is, and it shows how serious these allegations are and how much pressure he's under right now.
And this scrutiny isn't happening in a vacuum, is it, Jamie? We've seen other top officials in President Trump's administration also facing criticism lately.
That's a great point, Alex. It creates a much shakier footing for the entire cabinet, which usually tries to present a very united front. It's like one problem after another for them, weakening their overall image.
Right. It certainly seems to be adding to the challenges for the administration as a whole.
This whole debate really highlights the complexities of international drug interdiction efforts. You know, stopping drug trafficking is important for national security.
For sure. But then you have to balance that against human rights. It's a very sensitive balance, isn't it? How do you stop criminals without harming innocent people?
Exactly. That's the million-dollar question here.
And because of all this, critics are now calling for greater transparency and accountability from the Defense Department. They want to know more about those rules of engagement, how and when they're allowed to use force.
And they also want to know the exact outcomes of these operations. What happened in each one? Who was involved? What were the reasons for the strikes?
Very important questions that need clear answers.
Because, let's be honest, Alex, the implications of these accusations could be quite significant, right?
Oh, absolutely. These could have serious repercussions for U.S. foreign policy, you know, how America interacts with other countries, and also for military conduct in future anti-narcotics efforts.
It sounds like Secretary Hegseth has a lot on his plate and a lot of explaining to do.
He certainly does, and we'll be keeping a close eye on this story as it develops.
Thanks for tuning in to The Daily Pulse. We'll see you next time.
Bye, everyone.